And welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negative mindsets so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches you want in life. Join us here live every Tuesday at noon Eastern and dialogue with us at 818-572-2910. You can also chat with us at Blog Talk Radio /SheddingTheBitch. Or share your stories on our website at sheddingthebitch.com. Whatever the bitch is that's holding you back from living your life to the fullest, it's not worth giving up the riches in life that you deserve. So call in now and let Bernadette Boas know what's holding you back. 818-572-2910.
Good day, good day, good day, everyone. Happy April 21st. I hope you're having a beautiful day, no matter where you might be around the world. It is absolutely gorgeous here in Atlanta, Georgia. We've had actually several nice, beautiful days, and yet thunderous, just amazingly thunderous storms in the evening times. But it is spring, so we have to count on that, at least here in the South. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are persisting through this isolation, through this chaos, through this new normal. And that's going to be our conversation today, is just all around persistence. But before we get there, I just want to send my prayers out to everyone, whether you are on the front line as a first responder in any form or fashion. That could be the grocery store clerks, the postman, the trash pickup guys, as well as the healthcare workers. But there's also the people that are in restaurants and in grocery stores and in five and dime type stores. We are all thinking and praying for you. As well as I want to send prayers out to all of you who are actually adjusting to this new norm and who may be dealing with it just fine or maybe struggling with it in any way, shape, or form. Just know, at least here, you are in our prayers on a regular basis. And we'll just pray as this continues on, that everybody stays safe and stays healthy. Now, I will just, make a shout out that I'm a bit concerned here in Georgia because it was just announced yesterday that our state will be opening up on Friday. Well, at least for pretty much aesthetic, self-care type of businesses like hairdressers and masseuses and manicure salons and all that. And then on Monday, restaurants will be opened. Gyms will be opened. And so say prayers for us too, because I'm a bit concerned that we're not anywhere as advanced as some other states are. And so I'm just going to pray that this is a decision that won't come back and bite all of us in the butt, because it won't just bite the decision makers. It'll bite and impact each and every one of us. So stay safe, everyone. Just stay together as, families, as communities, as states, and as the country. And we will get through this. We certainly will. We've gone through these things before and we'll do it again. All right. So prayers to everyone. I just want to mention our previous episodes that we've had, that have been both broadcasted through Blog Talk Radio, which many of you listen to or you download even after the show. But like today, we've had a number of our episodes that we've been broadcasting live just to kind of create that connection, kind of reach out and, I can't see your face necessarily, but if you do want to post, comments, come on to the Shedding the Bitch Facebook page. That's where we're broadcasting live today. And, I'd love to see your smiley face or a little bit of emoji or comments in there. But at the same time, if it's just me that you're able to see, let's just try to keep up those connections, try to keep up that interaction and that community. All right. But our past episodes, last week, we had a great conversation with Melanie Brown. She was, in her home studio, and we broadcasted again, both live and through Blog Talk Radio, and we talked about her passionate ministry around sharing stories of women who have overcome great trials and tragedies. Thanks, Anne Marie. Thanks, back at you too. But she and I discussed how she's on a mission to really hear and then share your stories of overcoming, and in hopes that your story will inspire, educate, and uplift other people. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful ministry. So to learn more, if you have an overcomer story, then you can always go to melaniebrown.com. But at the same time, go back and take a listen on blogtalkradio.com. You can go to sheddingthebitch.com, and you'll see both the video broadcast there posted as a blog post, and then you can also find the podcast broadcast on our radio channel. Just scroll down, you'll see the radio channel, and all of our episodes are listed there. Prior to that, we've been talking a lot about just what everybody's going through. So we've had a conversation about never losing hope. We've had a conversation about how you can create your vision and materialize it into your own victory plan. So then you can remain focused and clear and optimistic about where your future is headed. We've also talked about turning your talents into riches. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that even today when it comes to persistence. At the same time, it's a great episode to really learn how you could be pivoting and shifting even away from what you've typically done. And now you're just taking advantage of the skills, talents, expertise, and experience that you have, what we call riches here in the Shedding the Bitch community. So you can find other opportunities. You can find another career. You can find income sources. You can find a new passion that you didn't even think about a few weeks ago. We've also talked about together we will get through this. So we had a couple of them that were really focused on shifting your fear into just concern. With concern, then you could prepare and plan and kind of take the emotion out of things. But the together we will get through this was also a uplifting conversation about what you could be doing as a community and as a family, and then as an individual to really thrive through this period as opposed to struggle and just survive it. All right. Now, linked directly to this conversation today and everything that we've been doing over the last several weeks, I also want to announce that we will be relaunching our Goals to Riches Blueprint series that we held back in early February, and then we held in middle of March. And on May 11th, we will launch that again because I'm still getting a lot of requests and a lot of questions and a lot of frustrations from individuals about just trying to find that motivating act, that motivating goal, that motivating energy that will get them out of whatever rut they may be feeling and moving forward. Because whether this lasts a few days more, like for us in Georgia, or it lasts for weeks and or a couple of months, we want you to be moving forward, and I know you want to as well, as opposed to even sitting still. So we're going to be relaunching that on May 11th, and it's a 5-day workshop, very powerful workshop, and you can get all of the details at tiny.cc/goals to riches blueprint. That's tiny.cc/goals to riches blueprint. But be sure I'll be sending out notifications and updates and reminders and that kind of thing. But that'll be coming up, and that will, as it has for many of the other participants over the last couple of months, really get you working on your goals, working on a victory plan, taking those actions, having the accountability, and gaining even the small achievements that will really motivate you and create momentum for you to be moving forward. All right. But today we are talking persistence and why it's even more critical today than ever for you to really focus on what it will take for you to be able to just make those constant, steady steps forward. Because as the days tick on, it becomes, harder and harder for many of us, while for some, they've kind of embraced it, they've made the adjustments, they've made the shifts and pivots needed in order to continue moving forward. So we really want to share with you. I want to share with you kind of what I've even been going through just the last several days when it comes to persistence, and then some tips as to what you could be doing in order to find that that swell of energy within you, because it's there. It's there. You just might be pushing it down. So that's what we want to make sure that we focus on today, so you can find that gusto to move forward. But before we do, I need to thank a couple of people, a couple of organizations that have supported us in the Shedding the Bitch community for a good number of years. And because we broadcast this live, I don't necessarily interrupt the program, the live stream, with our regular radio broadcast commercials. So I want to thank Parker House Virtual Services for providing me and Ball of Fire Consulting and our Shedding the Bitch community a lot of sanity, a lot of breath. We spoke to her last week on our Biz Thrive Snap Wednesday interview. You can also check that out on all of our social media platforms. But they provide me breath and sanity and room to really focus on my work as a result of what she and her team does around social media, broadcasting my radio program, even acting as a concierge for my Goals to Riches Blueprint series and our Shift to Riches Accelerator program. So Deborah's always in the background, really just making sure that I have that room to get the work done and support you in the way that you need it. So that's always a beautiful thing. I also want to thank Debbie Snelling of North Georgia Tax Solutions. It's a full service accounting firm, and she has been with me day in, day out over the last, 12 years, since I started Ball of Fire Consulting. And she is just an amazing sounding board, an amazing financial whiz, an amazing business modeler and strategic advisor to what I need to be doing in the good times and then in the challenging times, in order to, as well, stay focused, be on top of the business, pivot where I need to pivot, and ensure that I have the underlying support that's needed in order for me to thrive as I move forward. I'm watching some comments coming in, so excuse me. So thank you to both of them. And of course, if you want to be a sponsor or an advertiser, or you want to even be profiled on our Shedding the Bitch program, please reach out to me at Bernadette Boas at balloffireinc.com or mediarelations@balloffireinc.com. All right. So that being said, let's talk about persistence, shall we? Now, as I mentioned, as the days wear on, it is very understandable for any of you to start getting very drained, very overwhelmed, even underwhelmed, very much in your head about where are we going and what is happening and what will happen, not only to, your career, maybe your business, but more so your family, your security, your stability, your health, as a result of all of this. And it starts picking at your confidence and your focus and your determination and even your persistence. It starts to kind of say, you know what, that couch is looking really comfortable because I am really uncomfortable right now. But being uncomfortable, as many of you have heard me kind of evangelize, if you are part of the Shedding the Bitch community, being uncomfortable is a good thing because it causes you to think differently. It causes you to start creating things that you would never have considered before. It causes you to start taking risks and trying different things. So I am okay with being uncomfortable. I'm okay with you being uncomfortable. So my first suggestion is be okay with being uncomfortable. So, but persistence also, or lack thereof, I should say, will also cause you to build up within yourself all of that drama, all of that overwhelm or underwhelm, all of that stress and anxiety and fear and negativity and uncertainty, to the point where you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to explode and it's just going to come spewing out in numerous ways, or it's going to cause you to really kind of go inward and implode on yourself to the point where you just don't want anything to do with anybody. So let me give you a few examples of my little test of persistence over the last several days. And they are small, but this is for a reason that they are small. So I think it started Sunday. I was getting ready for the week, and many of you know I talk about, sitting down on a Saturday, Sunday, or maybe first thing Monday morning and planning out your week. So that's what I was doing. I was planning out my week, and I was also getting things technically ready for the work that I would need to do throughout the week. And it involves a number of technology platforms and technologies that hook into my laptop, so forth and so on. And absolutely nothing was working. I wanted to reach out to someone, those that follow the retrograde, and find out if we're in one of those, acts, the earth moving to a point where everything from a technology perspective just, goes crashing. Because that's how I felt. I just felt like absolutely nothing was working for me. And I could feel throughout the day that it was building up. So remember I said it's either going to build up to where you explode, or it's going to kind of go inward and implode to where you bury it deep down inside and let it just eat at you. But I felt it welling up, which is typical for me, Yet at the same time, over the years, I have found that as long as I'm paying attention to those things, and we'll talk about tips for dealing with all these situations, as long as I'm paying attention to all of these things, I can kind of get a grasp of it and take control of it. And that's what going through this whole type of situation is all about, is you taking control of it versus allowing it to control you. So here I'm having all these technology issues. And then in the midst of that, and I live in a relatively small area, I also found myself 1 second with my phone, and the next second without my phone. Now, I'm sure you've experienced this as well. It's like losing the keys. You had them 1 minute and the next minute you don't have them. And it's the most frustrating thing. So on top of this technology havoc that I was dealing with, I also just simply can't find my phone. And again, I don't live in a large space. So I start at first, and for a very short period of time, start just ripping apart everything, going behind the couch, pulling out the pillows from the couch, going and looking, under the pillow on the bed, going through the drawers of my dresser, which I hadn't been, using since that early morning. And I caught wind of the fact that I was about to lose it over this situation, let alone then in the midst of this, I'm sitting for about an hour on a chat room with a technology platform. And I just had a very simple, basic, kind of feature question. Something that should have been on their website, very easy for me to find and get the question answered. And I'm on YouTube and I'm on Googling out the brain, and I just couldn't find the answer. So here, amongst all of this other stuff, I'm listening to this dinging and this countdown of 40 that I'm in the queue, trying to get it down to 1 so I can get this simple question answered. Well, I'll tell you what. If there was ever a test of persistence, it was on that day. And I do believe it was Sunday. It was on that day. Now, again, those are simple things, but those simple things that create so much frustration and stress. Let alone the big struggles, the big challenges, the big tragedies that people deal with. And how do you find the will, the determination, the focus, that calm, that peace, that breath, that control to remain persistent? It's understandable if it's not something easily recognized, easily managed, let alone easily controlled. But it can be there, and you can do it, even in the midst of a storm, in the darkest of night. You can find that breath, those stars, that light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. You just need to be kind of willing, and you need to make the choice that that's what you want to do. So what I want to share with you is just some tips, some steps that you could be taking, whether or not you're dealing with just small things or the big things, whether or not it's today, next week, or a year from now. Persistence is one of those qualities, one of those traits that if you can, I'll even say master it, and you'll understand why I say that, because some of the tips really focus on what it takes to master anything. Then it will be a great tool that you're going to be able to go back to and really rely on when you are dealing with really difficult situations or just simple frustrations and you want to stay focused. Because what it took for me on Sunday is I could easily have just said, oh, screw this, and just thrown it all up in the air, and it was a Sunday and I didn't need to be working, but we're all in our houses. So what else is there to do if you're not working? I was tired of TV, and I was tired of even music on YouTube. So I chose to work. And yet I could have thrown all of that in, but I really, more importantly, wanted to stay focused and get the work done that I knew would set me up yesterday morning for a really productive week, and a week that I could also be fully present with whomever I was interacting with, including clients, including you, including my family. So I want you to be thinking about kind of where do you go when you start losing control of things? What all of a sudden transforms within you from your focus, from your steadiness, from your emotional stability, from your thoughts, your words, your feelings, your actions, your behavior. Think about all of that as far as when you really are that close to wanting to give up and throw in the towel. How does that materialize for you? Getting a handle on that will help you get a handle on what you need to be doing, what you can be doing in order to push through it. Okay? But I came across a couple of things that before we get into the tips, that I also wanted to plant in your mind. I'm a very, very visual person, and maybe you are too. And so there was a couple of things that I'd come across over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 weeks, in just adjusting myself and trying to keep my head on straight, because I deal with the same challenges and bitches, as we call them here, in the Shedding the Bitch community, as anybody does. So I was kind of looking for my own support behind, the people that I have in my life. And so I came across this one quote image, and I, at one point, did run half marathons, never ran a marathon, never wanted to do a marathon. And yet at the same time, if there is any proof of persistence or any, scenario that plays out what it takes and what it means to be persistent, it has to be a marathoner. It just absolutely has to be. Because, I have run 13.6, I can't even imagine what would happen to me at 17, 18, 20 when I take it, everybody hits the wall, let alone 23 to 26. But I came across this image and it basically says, your lungs are burning, your legs are shredding, your heart is pounding. Keep going. And I want you to kind of go back to a situation where, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, academic, where it just seemed like you were acting on or pursuing a really impossible task. And yet, you had that goal, you had that destination, you had that end point, you had that brass ring that was kind of propelling you to push through, if it was fear, pain, sweat, uncertainty, doubt, whatever the case might be. You just knew that all of that would be worth it if you just kept pushing and reaching that end point. But as I read this and saw this image, and I recently shared it, I think I shared it on our Shift to Riches private forum, that created such a visual image for me that it all of a sudden did create a lot of energy within myself. So that's why I wanted to bring it to you to kind of maybe, help you visualize that image, whether it is you as a runner or it's, you observing someone else doing it. Watching Ironman type of competitions, it really helps you appreciate persistence and the end, aha, the end, wow, the end, I did it. That just the satisfaction, the gratification, the confidence, the power that pushing through all of it and reaching that end goal provides you. And now on top of that, I then a couple days later had come across a Winston Churchill very famous quote that he's always had, and it's, if you're going through hell, keep going. If you're going through hell, keep going. So I read that after I had come across this marathoner, what I can only assume is a marathoner running quote image, and I thought, oh my gosh, absolutely, that is for me, going through hell, absolute going through hell. And yet if your lungs are burning, your legs are shredded, your heart is pounding, and you just keep going, go through that hell, just keep moving, then that in itself is persistence. And that just create for me, and I hope for you, just something to really just say, yes, I can do it. I can absolutely do it. Now, you might be tired of people telling you that. You might be tired of people going, oh, you can do it. Stay strong. Stay resilient. You got this. You know what? As cliche as they sound, you do. You do have it. You have everything within you to stay focused, stay on course, push through these hills, these peaks, these mountains, overcome them, and achieve what it is that you want. May take, and it will take, a lot of work, but it can and will be if you focus on it. If I can get 2 words out, that'd be great. Lastly, I came across a Martin Luther King quote that then fueled me even more. So I'm sharing them all with you. And that is, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And that's what today's discussion is all about. I'm going to share something. Melanie is watching live. And last week I experienced 2 no's that really shook me. After some reflection, I decided I had to follow the advice I give on my podcast. Keep moving forward. And yesterday I received 3 yeses. So persistence is really the key to living out your dreams and passions. It really is. And thank you, Melanie, for sharing that. Because we could even put aside, though I want to acclaim and congratulate and give a round of applause to Melanie. That's fabulous. But even putting aside your dreams, your goals, we are going to talk about those. You know me. But even just moving forward and overcoming just the everyday frustrations, anxieties, uncertainties that you're dealing with right now, even if it's not your big picture, even if it's not your vision, even if it's not those dreams and goals, even if it's just ensuring that you're not spending 1 minute, let alone a few minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a full day turns into a week, a full week turns into a month of just junk, of just sorrow, of just pure anxiety that's just keeping you down. What we want to do is we want to get you moving, because guess what? We also want to keep ourselves moving. We want to all be moving forward, because we are all in this together, as they have been saying for weeks now, but we are all in this together. So let's talk about some things that you could be doing just to kind of wrap your arms around even the smallest of things. Even just dealing with the kids and the spouse, partner, or other people in the household, your animals, the isolation apart from even them, just the, again, all the other emotions, all the other bitches that we talk about. But just in dealing with all of that, let's just talk about some things that you could be doing to help you pivot, help you shift, help you move into a place of persistence. Okay? First off, it would be, as I've said before, fake it until you make it. And that's quite simply saying, if you don't feel like smiling today, and yet if you don't smile, the universe won't smile back at you. Think about it. If you're not smiling, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your other family members, your pets won't even be able to smile back at you. And they may try to, tickle you, or they might try to tell you a joke to loosen up. And yet if you keep kind of that frown on, it will eventually kind of project onto them. And the next thing you know, now there's multiple people feeling that same weight of burden that you're feeling. So if you need to, not only for them, but more so for yourself, then try faking it until you make it. Put a smile on your face. Put, an affirmation within yourself that says that you're going to, be in a great mood. This is going to be a great day. The sun is shining bright, even if it's storming. The sun is shining bright, and I am going to be, a productive workhorse today and get, the one thing done that I want to get done, or the 10 things done that I want to get done. But just fake it until you make it. Because sooner or later, as you're faking it, you will feel it. Because faking it also means that you have to shift and pivot your whole being in order to be in that state that you are so-called faking. And so those shifts, as small as they might be, as slight as they might be, will shift you, and will shift you in the direction that you want to go. So try that on. Fake it until you make it. The other one would be the 4 A's of change. If you've been part of the Goals to Riches Blueprint series, in the past several months, you've heard me talk a lot about the 4 A's of change. And these are tools, strategies that you could be using, again, to work through any type of decision, problem, challenge, or major upheaval in your life, and to find that persistence that you need in order to push through it. So the 4 A's of change are awareness, attention, acceptance, and action. So awareness is simply be aware of how you're feeling and be okay with it. Be aware of how you're feeling and what you're dealing with and what's in front of you and how big that mountain is, how small that little challenge might be. Be aware of it and be aware of how you're responding to it, how you're feeling about it, what your thoughts are around it, what type of behavioral tics are being created as a result of it. Or maybe it's even the words that you're using. Be aware of all of it and be okay with it, because being okay with it will allow you to want to have a clear focus on it, as opposed to kind of creating a blurry image of it to where you're not seeing it very clearly. You're fooling yourself, you're denying it, you're avoiding it or ignoring it. Being fully aware of it and being okay with it will then allow you to be put into a place where you can then address it. Maybe I need to add a fifth A, address, but no. So awareness, and then paying attention to it. So once you're aware of something, you can then say, oh, well, wait a minute, I need to figure out if this is a constant or if this is just a hiccup. Is this something that I regularly do, or is this something that, I do in a certain type of situation? So it's not very consistent or steady or persistent. It's just, something that happens when this type of situation comes up. And again, paying attention to it will then allow you to then accept it and take action on it. But before we get there, so pay attention to what you've now become aware of, because awareness is the first key to everything. Awareness is the first key to any type of change, any type of action, any type of dream or goal that you have. You need to be aware of it, and then you need to pay attention to it. And once you're fully attentive to it, you can then accept it for what it is. And that's why I said earlier, if you're not feeling good, if you're not feeling, energized, if you're not focused, if you're not clear, if you are stressed and fearful and negative, be okay with that. Accept that. Because once you accept it, you can then make a choice as to whether or not you really want it or you need to shift it and do something different. But once you've become aware of it and you've paid attention to it, you then accept it, because that's a choice, right? But you could also choose to not accept it and do something different and feel something different and say something different and act on something different. But you first have to be aware, pay attention, and then accept it. Good, bad, and the ugly. And because again, once you do, and you recognize that, oh, okay, this is really working for me, but this isn't. I like this feeling, not crazy about, what this does to me. I want this, don't want that. Then you can take action on it, which is the fourth A. And taking action may first require you to really ensure that you're prepared and planning it out, which we'll talk about in a minute. So taking action means that you now are aware of everything that's going on around you. You are paying attention to it. You're accepting it, and that something needs to be done, whether it's done the same or done differently. And now you can put a plan together to take action on it. Now, through all of this, the next thing that you need to be able to do is manage the emotions that come with it. And so even though the 4 A's of change walk you through that awareness the awareness, the attention, the acceptance, and the actions, a lot of things will come up, a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of resistance, a lot of acceptance, a lot of fear, a lot of emotions wrapped up with everything else. And yet at the same time, the real goal of all of it is for you to be able to manage the emotions that come with it, so you can look at things very logically, very unemotionally, very much in black and white. It's why I talk a lot about, as you're going through these things, as you're considering the 4 A's of change and you're working to manage your emotions, even think about journaling it, writing it out, getting out of your head with it swirling all around and onto a piece of paper in black and white, and it becomes much clearer, but more importantly, it loses a lot of that emotion that's wrapped up in it. It loses a lot of that energy, because now you've processed it as you've been writing it, and right in that action alone, a lot of that energy dissipates. And you're able to then kind of look at it, review it, and kind of continue your 4 A's of change and look at it unemotionally and put a plan together to take action on. But you need to get a control over those emotions. And if you need to, go back to faking it until you make it. If you are scared, if you are anxious, if you are stressed, if you are unsure, well, work in from there that no, I now am aware of it, I'm paying attention to it, I'm accepting it, and I want to put a plan together, and therefore, all of this is going to be put into something that's more logical and more actionable, and that takes a lot of the sting and a lot of the swirl around all the emotions that come with it. Then, as we talked about, you just decide if you want to continue what you're doing or you want to do something differently, and that would be built into that plan that you're able to take action on. And then you just need to get down to moving, whether it's one small step or several big steps. A client reached out to me the other day. I do a weekly checkpoint with my clients just to make sure that, what they had planned for at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the month, depending upon how frequently we meet. I just want to check in and make sure that they're moving along. And if they're not, what's getting in their way, or if they are, sweet, I want to be there to cheer them on. So she had, I'd reached out, and she makes a comment about the fact that she's gotten about, I would say, almost like a dozen things done that she wanted to get done. Now, someone else had reached out as well, and they were working on, I don't know, a dozen or more things as well. And I'm sitting there going, boy, these people are producers. They're powerhouses. I applaud them. However, when I continue talking to my client about it, it actually turned out that what she was looking at, because we had to look at kind of, okay, so what are you working on and how is it tying back to your goals, which is what I talk about all the time with all of you. She actually was a little bit kind of diverted into doing things that weren't necessarily tied to her goals. Actually, majority of them were not tied to her goal. There was one or two that were, and the rest of them were not. Now, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to poo-poo on anybody. I just ask a lot of questions. So my question was, all right, so how do you feel about the fact that you've gotten so much done? And she said, well, I'm thrilled that I've gotten so much done, but it isn't helping with the fact that I now have to delay. And she has like a 3 or 4 week business turnaround time. It's a long story, but so she was, kind of had to look at it again, going back to the 4 A's. She had to pay attention to it and accept the fact that, yes, what I've been working on, I did think was, highly productive, but there was only a couple of them that really were going to get me to my end goal of May 1st, and therefore I do have to push it out a couple of weeks. And I'm like, okay, so how do you feel about that? Acceptance, right? How do you feel about that? And then it caused her, because she didn't accept it, it caused her to then totally revamp what she was going to be working on. This was about 2 weeks ago, all of last week and this week. So to still hit that mark that she had for herself. So you just want to get down to a lot of planning, and you want to get down to a lot of preparation in order for you to then be able to move forward, even with the smallest of steps. And then if you need to, seek help. Find someone, professionally or unprofessionally, a family member, a peer, a colleague, and ask them to help you get moving forward and motivated and energized and fueled. And you will be able to master persistence, because once you start doing it and once you start kind of adjusting to it and understanding it, you'll find yourself going, oh, wait a minute, I can pull out these tools and strategies to help me move forward. All right. Wow, this time has flown, absolutely flown. So I will look forward to having you right back here next Tuesday at noon Eastern time for another episode of Shedding the Bitch Radio. Have a great week, everyone. I might have to check in on you. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Boas. Join Bernadette every Tuesday at noon Eastern as she helps you shift your bitches to riches. And